A mysterious mummy, a murdered pharaoh, and tests on ancient DNA. Here's how a mummy that appears to have died in agony is related to a plot to kill an Egyptian ruler. The image of Egyptian burial as it's remembered today appears both luxurious and elegant. Sarcophagi encase the mummified remains of their pharaohs and nobility, a precaution they believed that would ensure their safe passage to the afterlife. Egyptians even mummified and created beautiful burial plots for their cats, animals they revered. But for many years, Egyptologists have been puzzled by the existence of one particularly horrifying specimen of ancient Egyptian remains. It is the body of a man which, rather than lying calmly like the remains of other mummies, lies with its mouth agape, its head thrown back in apparent pain. Known as the Screaming Mummy, little was known about exactly why his death throes were seemingly so agonizing. But with the help of ancient chronicles as well as 21st century genetic evidence, scientists and historians have pieced together his story. His name, according to some experts, was Prince Pentawere.
This is an attempt to change the arc of Egyptian history.
The circumstances of the fate of Pentawere are closely related to those of Pharaoh Ramesses III. Ramesses III himself died in brutal circumstances after around 3 decades as the supreme ruler of Egypt, ruling from around 1187 BC to 1156 BC. Despite his enormous power as a demigod among his people, Ramesses was not always well liked among the populace, who were dealing with economic struggles and food shortages. With the pharaoh's power draining away, one of his wives, Tai, formed an audacious plan along with other members of Ramesses' harem to kill her husband and install her son Pentawere in his place. Ramesses' mummy, which is housed at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, is on its surface immaculate. For decades, experts could find no evidence that the harem conspiracy had succeeded in its murderous objectives. However, in 2012, it was discovered through a CT scan on a bandage that remained intact on Ramesses' neck that it was hiding a previously unnoticed wound. Analysis suggested that Ramesses had been dealt a fatal knife blow, possibly from behind. A second injury to his toe led experts to conclude that he had been simultaneously attacked from the front. Nevertheless, it seems that although the assassins may have succeeded in Ramesses III, they were captured in the attempt and made to face justice by his loyalists. The Screaming Mummy first came to light back in 1886, in an age when explorers and looters raided Egyptian tombs with next to no oversight. However, not everyone was looking to make a quick buck from the tombs of dead pharaohs. The French Egyptologist Gaston Maspero was empowered by the Egyptian government to protect against grave robbers and uncover and catalog a major tomb believed to be the final resting place of some of the country's most prominent ancient pharaohs. It was in this tomb that the remains of the Screaming Mummy were discovered. In 2006, archaeologist Bob Breyer wrote an article in Archaeology, the journal of the Archaeological Institute of America, noting that the Screaming Mummy known to archaeologists as Unknown Man E has been the subject of speculation in the field for more than a century. One theory goes that the corpse is that of a Hittite prince who arrived in Egypt to marry an Egyptian princess, but who had been killed en route. However, details of the burial later suggest another story. Though the Screaming Mummy was buried with members of Egyptian royalty, experts believe there is evidence in the manner of his burial that he was considered a disgraced figure. Usually, prominent figures in ancient Egypt underwent an elaborate mummification process after death, which included embalming and the removal of organs, as well as efforts to repair injuries with the use of amulets or replace body parts. The Screaming Mummy had been subjected to none of these rituals, and in fact had been wrapped in goat or sheepskin, a material thought impure by ancient Egyptians. In 2012, experts removed a sample from the mummy to perform DNA analysis that they hoped would offer an insight into the true lineage of the agonized corpse. The results were mind-blowing. In an article for the British medical journal titled Who Killed Ramesses III, the team led by Egyptologist Zahi Hawass revealed that the Screaming Mummy shared Ramesses III's DNA, meaning that he was almost certainly his son. With such details in mind, Hawass and his team stated that the Screaming Mummy is a good candidate for Pentawere. As recorded in an ancient Egyptian document known as the Judicial Papyrus of Tiran, Pentawere died by suicide as a direct consequence of his plot against his father Ramesses III. The death, which would allow his body to remain intact for the afterlife, would have been preferable to some of the more disfiguring execution methods reserved for the lower orders of Egyptian society. However, the exact method of Pentaware's death was not recorded. Those who discovered the body initially thought, on account of his chilling appearance, that he must have been buried alive. As the years passed, the theory emerged that he may have died by poison. Poisoning was a common means of forced suicide in antiquity. Famously, the philosopher Socrates was forced to swallow hemlock. But further study has revealed that there may be more to Prince Pentaware's death. In 2018, the remains of the screaming mummy were put on display in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, fueling yet more interest in the story of Prince Pentuer's part in a plot to murder his father, Ramesses III. Further examination of the screaming mummy at the time of the DNA analysis confirmed that there were marks on the corpse's neck.
Pentuer performed suicide, possibly by hanging himself.
The Urach Research Institute's Albert Zink tells Channel 5's Ancient History that these marks are consistent with hanging. However, Zahi Hawass reported in the British Medical Journal that if strangulation was a cause of death, there would have been laryngeal fractures, and none were found. Whether the prince may have taken poison is still debated among experts. Meanwhile, the fate of Pentuer's mother and co-conspirator Queen Tai remains unknown.